Gentleman's time has expired. Your chair now recognizes the gentleman from Georgia, Mr. Woodall, for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I have the honor of serving on the House Transportation Infrastructure Committee, and I rise today in support of the 21st Century Aviation Innovation Reform and Reauthorization Act. We call it the AIRR Act on the committee. It's H.R. 2997, and it is a unique opportunity in a bipartisan way to do something big together for the American people. Now, I know we hear that a lot in this chamber, Mr. Speaker, but so often it seems like it is just out of our reach. That is not the case today. Under Chairman Schuster's leadership on the Transportation Infrastructure Committee, Mr. Speaker, my colleagues and I have worked to craft the kind of bold, forward-thinking reform that America's 21st century aviation system needs, and it is in reach today to make that the law of the land. Now, when we sit together to reauthorize the FAA, Mr. Speaker, it isn't just about attending to the nation's business of ensuring safety of air travelers across the country. Of course, that is a priority, but it is an opportunity to implement the kind of innovative reforms that we've seen across the globe and that America needs to reestablish itself as the world's aviation leader. We have an opportunity together to deal with a bloated bureaucracy, to reduce taxpayer costs, to improve efficiency, all in an industry that is designed to prioritize customers' experience and customer service. Mr. Speaker, Americans pioneered air travel, and we remain the safest aviation system on the planet. But our own outdated bureaucracy, our own outdated rules are standing in the way of American innovators and making air travel more time-consuming, more costly, and safety innovations more difficult. Mr. Speaker, with this legislation, we have a chance to empower our innovators, to better serve our travelers, and to preserve the world's finest commitment to safety, as we always have. As is the case, Mr. Speaker, with any heavy lift, with any big task, there are always concerns, and keeping America's system safe and the American people safe are highest among those concerns. Mr. Speaker, what you need to know today is that with the support of General Mattis, with the support of the Department of Defense, the AIR Act has focused on preserving the primacy of preserving national security in our aviation infrastructure. Mr. Speaker, the bill has the support of those dedicated public servants at the Pentagon because it has been sensitive to these issues. It maintains the DoD's access and management of airspace. It doesn't allow user fees that are charged to passengers to be passed on to taxpayers through the DoD. It leaves intact the President and the DoD's proper authorities to manage this space. In addition, it provides unequivocal definitions about the importance of defense to the American people, and balances the needs of general aviation with the needs of the Department of Defense. The oversight will always remain with the FAA, with the DOT, and with the United States Congress. Mr. Speaker, after we've preserved national security, we turn our attentions to the general aviation community. And if you have talked about this bill at all with any of your constituents back home, Mr. Speaker, you've heard the concerns of the general aviation community about what it will mean to them to completely reform America's air traffic control system. Mr. Speaker, we have to balance the role of government oversight and accountability with private innovation. Our bill is designed to empower those innovators, but to preserve the protections that GA has today. Mr. Speaker, I want to refer you to a graphic. You'll find it at the Committee on Transportation's website. It's transport.house.gov. You can't see it from where you sit, but I have line by line by line the law that we're talking about, the bill that we're talking about, the reforms that we're talking about, and how it protects our friends in the general aviation community. No fees. No new fees for our friends in general aviation, Mr. Speaker. If you have a doubt about that, look at Section 9313. You'll see charges and fees may not be imposed for air traffic services provided. Continuing airspace and airport access, Mr. Speaker, is so important to American citizens involved in general aviation. Again, I refer you to Chapter 907, General Rights of Access to Airspace and Airports. The Secretary shall take such actions as are necessary to ensure that air traffic services user is not denied access to airspace or air traffic control services. The stakeholder board, Mr. Speaker, the cooperatizing of air traffic services that we've seen done so successfully in Canada, where they say they're getting twice the safety and modernization input for half the cost, getting it done in a third of the time, having done away with their bloated bureaucracy. The stakeholder board,
Gentleman's
Mr. Speaker,
has expired.
defined by general aviation nomination. Transport.house.gov, Mr. Speaker. I yield back the balance of my time.
Gentleman yields back. Chair now wants to